This is a speech about climate change policy. In today's political environment, we are able to divide the global warming controversy into three main areas of debate. Number one is the human contribution to global warming and climate change, and the state of climate science. Two is the expected social and economic impacts of global warming, induced climate change, and three, what is the solution? In our view, the most promising path forward lies in the recognizing that the position one takes on any one of these three elements. Many who minimize the impact of rising CO2 emissions and precipitation, global and warming-induced climate change take the not unreasonable position that correlation is not causation. It is not usually accepted that CO2 emissions have increased very much in recent decades. It is also apparent, unless you use some precise and limited measurement periods, that we have seen significant warming around the globe in the last century. All one needs to do is observe what has happened in the Arctic Ocean or to many glaciers around the world in recent decades to conclude that the globe is warming. What is in dispute among some is the extent of which this warming of the globe is primarily due to increase of emissions. UCS.org says that emissions from cars and power plants and an increase in the amount of radiation in the sun emits are some examples of forcings that drive temperature rise, the first one by trapping heat and the second one by increasing energy, which translated into heat. Volcano events and some types of human-made pollution, both of which inject sunlight reflecting aerosols or tiny particles into the atmosphere, lower temperature, and are examples of forcings that drive decreases in temperature. Our country urgently needs a more balanced approach to the global warming and climate change issue. AP Archives YouTube channel also shows two U.S. senators sharply condemning the climate change policy of U.S. President Donald Trump at a side event at the UN Climate Change Conference in Bonn. On its own, it is a major policy problem, and it has come to dominate discussions over our country's broader energy strategy. The current starkly contrasting characterizations of the global warming and climate change problem and the solutions proffered by the polar opposites in the debate are neither accurate nor constructive, as we strive to achieve a more sane policy approach to the issue. Beyond the subject of sustained government support for R&D, defense, energy, and the imposition of playing out living RNCT, there needs to be a conversation about the appropriateness and extent of variation government mandates and subsidies regarding energy sources and uses. Conservatives tend to be skeptical on market distorting interventions by government, while liberals are frequently quick to advocate and employ government-centric solutions. The ubiquitous law of regulatory capture sees fertile ground in contested pitch about this. Now, according to NASA, the Earth's climate has changed throughout history. Just in the last 650,000 years, there have been 7 cycles of glacier advance and retreat, with the abrupt end of the last ice age about 7,000 years ago, marking the beginning of the modern climate era and of human civilization. Most of the climate changes are attributed to very small variations in Earth's orbit that change the amount of solar energy our planet receives. If we want to save our home, we need to take action and make sure our policies support our values. And that's the end.